Hi, mystery writers. Welcome to Write a Killer Mystery, where we talk about making a good mystery great. And today I want to talk about all the breadcrumbs that you leave in the first half of your novel. Um, it makes a difference as you head toward the end. Right? There's a lot of work to do at the beginning. First, I wanted to thank my patrons on Patreon for their continued support of this video series and my novel writing. And if you'd care to join us for special updates, there's a link in the description below. Okay, let's talk about those breadcrumbs of intrigue. What do you do in the first half of your novel to get your reader engaged and help them follow through as you set up the puzzle? That first half of your story is all about setting up the puzzle. I just recently led a workshop on mystery writing in sci fi and fantasy, and um, one of the participants was very excited about all this beginning part. He hadn't thought about it before, so kind of prompted me to set up this session today about what you need to do in the beginning. You're setting up all those components that make your mystery interesting and intriguing to your reader. Um, First, you want that very first initial discovery, the thing that says, "This is a mystery and we've got to solve this puzzle." All right, so you want to hook your reader, you want to get them involved. You've got a mystery reader, you want to make sure right up front that you're presenting them with a mystery. All right, um, and um, it reassures them that you know what you're doing about setting up your mystery puzzle. And you want that scene to be memorable. It's the thing that triggers their interest in solving the puzzle and following your detective along in this puzzle solving journey. You want it to stay in their memory as they go through all the different scenes that you write after that, um, because it's the thing that's like, oh boy, we're going to solve this puzzle, all right? Also, at the beginning, you want to introduce those key characters, and your reader may not know what role they play in the mystery yet, toward the beginning in that first half of your story, but they know who those key characters are. These are the suspects. This is the mentor. This is, of course, your detective. And with as you introduce all these characters, your reader is wondering which one of these is the villain. So you want to give all of your characters something that makes your reader question them. All right. And of course, at the very beginning, you want to set up your tone, the tone of your story. Is it lighthearted? Is it dark? Is it noir? Is it thoughtful? Is it, detective, criminal investigation? Let your reader know what that tone is and make sure that you continue that tone all the way through your story, because all of these things go together to hook your reader into wanting to read your story. And then the thing that many mystery writers think about is you're leaving this breadcrumb of clues that that make the reader wonder. You're always getting the reader to ask questions. That's one of your big jobs. And so the clues are like, is this the one that points to the villain or not? And they have to wonder about that for a while. And you want to be subtle about your clues, because you certainly don't want to give away your villain at the very beginning of your story. because once your reader knows who the villain is, they're done, right? So be subtle, uh, and be creative about the way that you present your clues, uh, and and don't always do it the same way. Use various formats and forms of planting a clue in a scene. You can have objects and background details and character actions and a piece of dialogue that all can be clues. So use that variety to keep your reader guessing, right? Um, and you want to balance those hidden clues with the visible clues. You want to keep giving your reader something to hang on to, right? And so, sorry for the balance between the overt things and the hidden breadcrumbs, when those hidden ones are usually the ones that'll pop up later that actually directly point toward the villain. Um, but if you make all your clues really hidden and obscure, your reader's going to be frustrated. So you want to give them some clues that they go, oh, right away they recognize as a clue, and they can keep wondering about that obvious clue as they keep reading your story. All right. You can employ red herrings. You don't want too many, but red herrings are clues that lead to nothing, and they also frustrate your detective and um, put up obstacles that are in there. They're really obstacles in your detective's way because they follow this what they think is a clue, and then it leads to nothing, and they have to go back and start all over again. So red herrings work. Just don't use too many, because once again, your reader doesn't want to be tricked. All right. And then you want to be careful about the placement of the clues. And I've done a couple of sessions about hiding your clues and different ways you can hide clues. Um, so, as each clue has a crucial role in effectiveness, it's important to ensure that each one appears at a logical point in the story. They do need to make sense and be integral to the story, just like everything else. All right. Even those hidden clues within the scene where you present them, that you want that clue to be logical, and that's one of the ways you can hide your clues. As long as the clue is logical, it's something in that scene that works within the scene. It doesn't come out with neon flashing lights going, I'm a clue, I'm a clue, I'm a clue. Okay. Um, and also, as you write, keep the reader's perspective in mind. Um, it's fun to craft those clues and leave those breadcrumbs, but put yourself in the reader's uh, place, and think about how they will interpret. Will they see the clue? Will they overlook it? You use your craft to plant clues so that your reader does overlook the clue at that point in time. So just pay attention to how your reader is going to respond to the clues that you plant. Also, you want to time your discoveries. You want to sprinkle them throughout your story, especially in the first half when your detective is on this discovery trip of finding the clues, of discovering who the suspects are, of discovering who the victim was and what the victim's relationship was to their world and all the suspects and who the suspects are. All of those things, you want to time them so that your story is well paced, so that your reader keeps encountering these new clues and these new suspects and new evidence. Um, because as you do that, oh my goodness, the thunderbirds are flying overhead. I hope you can still hear me. Um, as you time your discoveries and sprinkle them, you want to place them apart in your story so that as your reader keeps reading, they keep finding new questions to ask about the puzzle. All right. Um, so you want to create this pattern of suspense where you build up suspense and one clue, and then you resolve that. And next week, I'm going to talk about the second half of your story where you're doing a lot of resolution in this first half of your story up to the midpoint. We're just putting in as much discovery material as we can into our mystery. All right. Um, and also that you can um, what's the word I want? You can interweave, for lack of a better word, you can interweave the discovery clues with the characters so that the discoveries um, lead to character development. Your detective learns more about the suspects, and as those characters grow, as your reader and your detective learn more about the characters, they change and they advance um, the story and they advance the story. All right. And then talking about suspects, you also want to in this first half of your story, you want to develop your subplots, get them well underway, and make sure that you are introducing intriguing characters, and that can be a mentor, a sidekick, a love interest, as well as the various suspects that your detective must encounter. And this is where you're introducing those characters and you're developing them and developing their relationship with your detective. Um, and you want to make sure that there's a correlation between the subplots that you create in this first half, and that there's a correlation between those subplots and the main plot, which is the puzzle of discovering the villain and unraveling the crime. So that makes your subplots more interesting and more relevant to the mystery genre. Um, you can also, just as a side, you can use those subplots for misdirection. Another character may say, "Hey, you've got to look at this." They tell the detective, and they take the detectives to see something, and that something really isn't relevant. So it works kind of like a red herring. The the suspect, who really isn't the detective and doesn't have detecting skills, thinks something's important and they want to show it to your detective, but it turns out that it's not. It's just something. So, you want to connect all those discoveries, and next week when I talk about all the resolutions, there's going to be reversals. What seemed important in this first part, when you're planting all these discoveries, the clues and the suspects and the characters, um, what may seem important to solving the puzzle may turn out later to not be as important as it first seemed at the beginning. Just to reiterate about the midpoint, after the midpoint, your detective starts looking at everything that they've discovered in that first half, and they look at all of those things, the clues, the evidence, the subplots, the suspects. They look at them all with new eyes, because the way that they'd been using before in the first half of your story didn't work. But your main job in that first half of your story, Your main job is just creating one discovery after another. It's a discovery journey, that first half of your mystery story, because you're setting up for that final resolution. And you're setting up also for all the setbacks that happen in the second half of your story. And we'll talk about those next week. All right, I hope that helps. Just go out and um, set your detective on their discovery path in the first half of your mystery. Okay, once again, I want to let you know that Audible is a sponsor for Write a Killer Mystery, and there's a link in the description to a 30-day free trial. If you haven't listened to Audible, whose main features is uh, actors acting as narrators, telling the story aloud so you can hear the story. It's a really wonderful experience. I actually enjoy listening to novels. Uh, I enjoy it a lot, and I am able to do it while I am driving, while I'm outside working in the garden. I really enjoy it. So if you haven't experienced it, try Audible. There's a link for your 30-day free trial in the description. So once again, thank you for being here. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe and click that little notification bell so you can get what to do in next week in the second half of your mystery. All right, thank you for being here. Keep writing.